Snehesh, welcome to our IFF talks. What do you think about, what are the challenges and aspirations of media coverage in J&K? Because, you're covering from outside. What do you see it as? And, you're especially involved with the defense research.
Thank you so much for inviting me over. Learned speakers have spoken before me. I've covered some of the points that I wanted to talk about. So I'll give some quick short points on what I think the media's role in Jammu and Kashmir is to be, and what I think as far as the administration and media's relationship is concerned. Uh, you know, I look at media journalism as a very pious profession, and my father was a journalist. I've grown, being in a journalistic community. So for me, I see journalism as a very pious profession, and rightly so. The media's job, remember, is to report. And when I say is to report, I don't mean report only the bad things or only the good things. The media's job is to report. And now, especially in a in a situation, in a conflict-ridden place like Kashmir, I'm focusing more on Kashmir. Aditya said, Jammu is often neglected, but sadly, that is the reality of how the things are because of the way that Kashmir functions. So Kashmir becomes a very conflict-ridden place, and hence the role of the media becomes more important. So if there's often talk about whether media should be nationalistic. I feel that the media should not be nationalistic. There's another question, because I feel that there's a thin line which differentiates between nationalism and patriotism. So if you ask me whether the media should be patriotic, I would say yes, the media has to be patriotic. But what does patriotic reporting in a conflict situation, in a conflict-ridden state means? For example, I'll give a very simple example, is for the fact that patriotic reporting is not reporting about an operation that is going to take place, or not giving minute by minute details of an ongoing operation.
Sensitive operation, yeah.
Yeah. So, but there have been incidents in the past when operations have turned out to be not the way it's supposed to be, not the way it's supposed to be turned out. There have been casualties on the on the security forces side. At that time, the security forces expects the media not to report those issues. However, the patriotic part of the reporting is to report once the encounter is over, come out with the facts of the encounter, come out with the facts about who were killed, the background of people who were killed. Because remember that the media as a whole is genuinely the fourth estate, is the watchdog of the society. It's very important for the media to work accordingly. Now,
so you're saying this is a very big challenge in a state like J&K, in a place like J&K.
It is a very big challenge.
It creates chaos, where in the middle of an operation, we have journalists reporting, and half information, half-baked truths.
Half information comes out. There are unit names that which come out. And as Aditya rightly mentioned, there needs to be an introspection that needs to be there. The security forces rightfully, often see, and former army chief and right now the serious General Bipin Rawat always says that media is the enabler as far as the security forces are concerned, and rightly so. It is very important for the security forces and the administration to see media as their enabler, as the force multiplier. But at the same time, I feel that we as journalists should stop thinking of ourselves as the force multiplier. We should just focus on doing our job. Now, again, the challenges that is faced, and this challenge that I keep coming across, is that, the forces need to see, the security forces, I mean, not just the army, I mean the Jammu and Kashmir police, the CRPF, the army, need to perceive and see the media as a fellow Indian who's doing his or her duty. The media's job is to report, is to bring out facts. At times, these facts is something that is not liked by the establishment, but however, the facts still have to come out. And it's important for the security forces and the administration to see media as someone, a genuine, a fourth estate, which is doing his job, and not to see the media as an enemy. I'll also speak about the point that was brought about by Ashwini Kumar sir, in which he mentioned that, you have a mushrooming number of these YouTube channels. You buy a phone, you buy a SIM card, and you get a mic and you start doing it. I think, and that is what the journalistic community need to come together to to ensure that such people are identified and weeded out. Action needs to be taken. I think there needs to be a concerted effort, because as I remember, as I began with saying, that for me and for all of you here, journalism is a very pious profession. We do a great deal of work which actually works for the betterment of the society, and hence it is very important to weed out characters who bring bad name to journalism. Back to you.
Snehesh, very valid points raised, and I would like to really thank you for the first point that you started with, that journalism means appropriate reporting. It can be a bad news, it can be a good news, but it should not involve the perspective or his own inclination, the journalist's inclination. So that is a very valid point, especially in a very sensitive place like J&K. And this is more challenging, like Ashwini Kumar rightly mentioned, more challenging now because we have people saying that they are channels and they are journalists left, right, and center. And because of social media, it is much more easier for misinformation to travel, and that is why misinformation in a place like Jammu and Kashmir, especially in Kashmir, travels faster, creates more ripples. And I think, yeah, as a community, as a journalist community, we should all just avoid it. Uh, I don't know, come up with more laws, be more strict, report these issues. Like Ashwini said, that he was able to report some people. The more we report, the more people who realize that this is a serious profession, it has consequences of reporting from uh, between the operation. So I think, yeah, very good point, Snehesh. Can we move on, Snehesh?
Absolutely, please go ahead.